VIT Leo Club welcomes you to Leo Talks with IAS Officer Shubham Gupta.
I don't care if they call us crazy. Run away to a world that
We will start this event shortly. Sit back and relax.
Every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take.
Good evening, sir. We would be starting this session in another 2 minutes.
Information of a
Why is sir here?
Yeah, I guess.
Good evening, sir. We will start the meeting at 7:05, sir. We're waiting for other people to join as well.
Sure, no problem.
Yes.
And I see a million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make.
VIT Leo Club welcomes you to Leo Talks with IAS Officer Shubham Gupta.
There's a house we can build. Every room inside is filled with things from far.
We will start this event shortly. Sit back and relax.
Special things I compile, each one there to make you smile on a rainy day. They can say it all sounds crazy.
So we would like to start the session now. A very warm welcome to one and all present here. We are proud to welcome Mr. Shubham Gupta for the next phase of Leo Talks, the hit series where one can be inspired by success stories of hardworking achievers. Mr. Shubham Gupta, hailing from Jaipur, Rajasthan, is without a doubt one of those hardworking achievers, as with grace, he rose from humble beginnings, working in a shoe shop to earn his livelihood to reaching All India rank of 6th in 2019. Bringing all his hard work, work full circle as he is become an inspirational IAS officer. It isn't easy to face difficulties in a position of no privilege and still have the courage to climb the pillars of success to reach greater heights. Mr. Shubham's story is one of that induces goosebumps as we all are gathered here and are very keen to be inspired by him as he is that determined and has worked that hard to reach the position that he is here right now. So let's listen to Mr. Shubham's side of story and learn the secrets behind his driving force. The stage is all yours, sir.
Thank you so much to VIT Leo Club, and thank you so much, Urva, for getting in touch with me and inviting me here to speak to the students here. Generally, I don't really like to give a monologue and just go on speaking, and instead I like to interact with the students and anybody else who would like to talk to me. So I'll just take a couple of minutes and then we'll straight away move to the questions if that's all right with you. So basically, I think Urva already told all of you about me that I'm an IAS officer of 2019 batch. Right now I'm working in Maharashtra. Before that, I had qualified in 2017 batch also as Indian Audit and Account Service Officer. I had secured rank 366 that time. And then I wrote again and I failed, and I wrote again and I qualified with All India rank 6. So basically I've given 4 attempts, out of which I have failed in 2 and qualified in 2. So that is, I think, really important for all of you to know that I failed even after I had qualified, and I qualified again and got whatever I wanted to after 4 attempts, which is not less. And right now I'm working in Maharashtra. It's a fantastic job that I have. I really enjoy working as an administrative service officer, and there are numerous challenges that I encounter every day. But I think you guys will be more interested in getting to know how I decided to become an IAS officer, how I became an IAS officer, and why did I decide to become an IAS officer, right? So my journey really started when I was in 5th standard, I think, or probably about 8 or 9 years old. My dad, being a businessman, he used to interact with bureaucrats on a routine basis. But once we were in Daman, and my dad had a really bad experience with one of the bureaucrats. He really was trying to interact with him, and the bureaucrat used to call. He unfortunately was a nice officer. He used to call him to his office every day, and he kept him waiting outside his office for the entire day for almost 7 days. And one of those days, my dad came back home and he was really frustrated, and he just called me to him, and he just told me that beta मैं चाहता हूँ कि तू बड़ा होके collector बने. I want you to become a collector once when you grow up. At that point of time, I was extremely young. I didn't know what is a collector, how to become a collector, what is UPSC. I had no idea. But I think that is really where my journey really started. And when I finally decided that I want to appear for the UPSC Civil Services was in the beginning of my 11th standard, when I had to really decide between science and commerce. Those were the only 2 streams which are offered in my school. So because I had scored recently well, all my school teachers, everybody wanted me to go for science, but I was not interested. Then really I sat down with my brother, who coincidentally is an alumni of VIT. And we both decided that ultimately I will be appearing for civil services. I'll go to Delhi for college, and then from there I'll prepare and all that. So that's how the journey started. I went to Delhi. There are many interesting incidents of whatever happened in Delhi. What did I do? I chose economics honors because I wanted to take economics as my optional, but I ultimately ended up taking law as my optional. So a lot of interesting stories there. But so that is how exactly my journey started. Then I did my graduation from Delhi, and then I enrolled myself in Delhi School of Economics for my master's. Meanwhile, I was preparing for the exam. I started the preparation in the last year of my undergraduation, and like I told you, I gave 4 attempts and I qualified in the 4th for Indian Administrative Services. Over to you guys. Thank you so much.
So it's like really inspiring to listen about your talk. So, sir, now switching to the question answers round. So, my very first question for you, like regarding your college life. So, what kind of student were you in college? Like a fun, or something very studious?
So our college life was very interesting, Sanjana. Actually, in the first 6 months of my college, I was extremely studious. That's also because I joined the course a couple of weeks late. So all the groups were already being made. So I was finding it very difficult to enter into any of the particular groups. So I was extremely studious. I used to just go and sit in the first bench, and just talk about studies. Immediately at 1:30, when the college used to finish, I'll go back home, try to solve all the examples and all that. I was that kind of a kid in the first semester, I would say. And that semester, I stood third, I think, in the entire class.
My God.
And in the next 5 semesters, when I was finally able to get hold of a good group, and touchwood, I'm still in touch with almost all of them. So all the rest of 5 semesters, I used to sit in the last bench of the class. We used to go out almost every single day. I used to come back home almost 6 to 7 p.m. every day, and I stood first in the class. So the point I'm trying to make is that there is no relation between what kind of student you are and what your intellect or academic caliber is. It's only about how you balance your time, how you manage your time, and how you balance your priorities in life.
Yeah. So that's like a very motivating thing for all of us as we are the college going students. So like, sir, there are so many societies in our college, right? So any chapters and clubs which played like integral role in shaping your career or shaping your character?
I think yes. So I was part of not many. I was part of, I think, 3 societies or clubs or chapters, so to say. One was Leaders for Tomorrow. There was a program called Igniting Young Minds. So I used to go and teach young kids at that point of time. That really gave me a lot of satisfaction. So I think somehow that reinstated my feelings that I really wanted to go for the administrative services, because that public service is something which really helps me in my personal, endeavors in life. And second was Friday School of Economics. That was more towards the intellectual side. People used to, we used to invite people for talks and all that. That told me that I'm not really looking for something like this. And the third was the Economic Society. The whole society as such, we organized a lot of fairs, the annual festival and all that. That also really helped me in developing my personality, because ultimately this administrative service is also about public dealing, right? So there also, because it was DU, we used to organize it on a larger scale, at least try to. And we used to have to interact with a lot of people, get a lot of people on board, negotiate and all that. So, all those skills, I think, really come in handy when you look at the larger perspective in life. Not really specifically to the exam, but maybe at a broader level in life.
So like I can get a message that you should not be studious. Like you should be a person who is involved in extra co-curricular even.
Absolutely. I think, that's something which I always want to say to whoever is listening to me. Being studious is definitely a personal choice, but I think being involved in extracurricular is extremely important. And especially you should go to college and, experience everything, because your personality is something which will really hold you in good stead in life to come, whether UPSC or not. That's a totally different question, but you should always take your college life very seriously, I think, because your personality really gets molded when you are in college.
Yeah. So there are some fun stories or some serious stories in the college regarding with your friends and everything. So it would be great if you can share some of the stories of your college life, if you are comfortable with it.
Yeah, sure. I'm just trying to recall a couple of stories. So, I'll try to tell this story in a couple of statements actually. So we were a group of about 18-20 people all through 3 years of college, and always we used to roam around and didn't even need to, or didn't even try to talk to anybody else in college. And one of those days we had just written an exam, and in Delhi University, especially in a college of which is not science-based college, people start studying only before the exam, right? Just a day or two before the exam. That's when really the studying starts. And before that, neither the teachers really want you to study, nor do you study, So the exam ended, and there was a gap of a day in between, and then we had another exam, and there was a difficult exam, right? So we finished the exam, then we decided, we have to go out. And then somehow 4-5 of us felt that okay, आज तो पूरे दिन हमें घर पे ही नहीं आना. So the entire day we spent out, and in the we reached home I think around 10 o'clock in the morning. And then next day everybody was scared that okay, now we are completely done. I don't know what to do. We didn't have any idea. I had to spend 4 hours talking to one of my friends on a call and try to explain him the syllabus, because he was so freaked out that he couldn't even pick up the notebook and try to study himself. So interesting stories, and fortunately we ended up scoring well in the exam. But yeah.
So it's like a story of everyone, I believe, like what you said. So now, sir, like now coming to the serious part of the interview, like what was the preparation? Since you have mentioned your like why you decided up for UPSC, but now I would like to ask, like, what was the preparation for your UPSC CSC, as it is considered one of the toughest exams in the world? So how did you prepare, and if you can list or jot down the points?
Sure. So, like I already told, I started the preparation in the final year of my undergraduation, which is the third year. I mean, that is also a point which needs to be made, that even if you are extremely sure that you want to appear for civil services, maybe right from school age, which I was also after 10th standard, you are not supposed to start preparing only for UPSC right from that age, because that really narrows down your exposure to the world, which is not the right strategy, because ultimately you are only able to write the exam once you graduate, right? So that is one point I want to make. So after third, when I was in the latter half of the third year of my college, I decided to join a coaching. Choice of the coaching was a tricky thing for me. A senior of mine from the college was also preparing, so I discussed with him. I also looked at the popular choices in Delhi, and finally I decided to go with a coaching which was a smaller one, but which gave personal attention to all the students. In hindsight, I am not sure whether that was the right decision to be made at my end or not, but yeah, that's what I did. Then I started preparing. I used to go to coaching after my college got finished. So I chose a coaching which had daily classes from evening 6 to 8, if I'm not wrong. And on weekends, we had longer classes for about 4 to 5 hours a day. And immediately after third year of my college, I wrote once. I don't think I was 100% prepared, because I was extremely active in college activities, even at especially during the third year of my college. So I don't think I could give enough time. I tried to I remember that I always tried to read the newspaper when I was traveling in the metro or the bus, or in lunch breaks, or sitting outside the canteen talking to the friends. So all those small intervals I used to try to utilize for reading the syllabus, and probably just try to do whatever the coaching told me. So that's how I started. And that's how my preparation journey really started. So,
like you mentioned about coaching, so is it necessary to take the coaching, or one can do self-study and clear it?
No, it's not actually. One can definitely do on his or her own. And the idea is very simple. The idea of joining a coaching is that because there is no defined syllabus really for UPSC civil services.
Yeah.
So the idea is once you join a coaching, they tell you where to start and where to stop, right? So if there is somebody else, even if it's an online article or a person who's talking to you online like I am right now, that's absolutely equivalent of joining a coaching, because ultimately you have to study for your own self, right? Fortunately, nowadays we are living in times where test series are openly available, easily available. You can just take a printout and give the exam, right? So all those things really are okay, as long as you're not somebody who needs a decent environment where you see students studying, like an IIT preparation sort of environment for your studies, which I never wanted, because I remember I didn't even speak to many people when I was taking my coaching from Delhi. So I just used to go to class, listen to the teacher, and then come back immediately. So if you're that sort of a person, you're absolutely fine. If you need an ambience of sorts, which pe padhai ho rahi and all that, then probably coaching is the thing to do. But ultimately, the idea is that somebody needs to give you the direction.
Yeah. So, sir, like there are 3 stages, and like prelims is basically on objectives and everything. Then there is mains and interview. So how did you manage the 3 stages? Because I believe that you have to have the different strategies for each stage. So if you can share something regarding it.
So out of the 3 stages, 1 stage has been very comfortable for me, and 2 have been extremely tricky. Prelims, I think prelims is the most difficult part of the exam, in my opinion. I have written for and I have qualified only 2. And even the two I have qualified barely. So I think that is the trickiest part, and the idea is very simple. That it is difficult because at my point of time when I was writing the exam was mostly about learning facts, trying to remember events, dates, timelines, and all that. Now in the last couple of years, the exam has mostly become interpretive. You need to understand what is happening around you. If you are a good newspaper reader, if you have done your research well, I don't think you should find it difficult to clear the exam. So prelims is that is where prelims comes into the picture. What I used to do is I used to spend almost 4 hours in reading the newspaper and making notes out of it. And beyond the newspaper, I used to strictly focus on follow the syllabus which was told to me by the coaching. I did not refer to many reference books, only if absolutely essential. I used to go for a reference book, otherwise absolutely no. The NCRTs were my organic source of information mostly. So that's how prelims went for me. In mains, I have written to, I have qualified both, and I have scored almost similar marks in both. So mains, I'm very comfortable. The idea is very simple, that they're not asking you to remember facts. They're asking you your opinion about things, which I think needs decent practice to finish the paper, because it's a longish paper. You have to write about 20 questions in 3 hours, which is not really easy. But beyond that, the questions are pretty broad mostly. And if you have a decent idea, you should be able to, you should be comfortable in the exam. The preparation strategy is I think very similar to the preliminary exam. You have to read the newspaper, you have to read a lot of syllabus. There are some subjects which are included in mains, which are not there in prelims, or the other way around. But the idea is that you have to make notes from both points of view whenever you are preparing for any topic in the first time, from prelims point of view also and from mains point of view also. So that is something which needs to be kept in mind. Otherwise, I think it's pretty much the same. Answer writing is absolutely essential. And in the last stage, the interview, I have a mixed experience. In the first interview I scored 124 out of 275, which is basically the interviewer telling me that we don't want you in the service. In the next interview, I scored 184 out of 275. And that was the only difference which brought my rank from 366 to 6. So for interview preparation, I think in the first interview, I was extremely complacent. I thought that what is there to prepare for an interview? There's a personality that you have, and you're just going to carry that personality in the interview and you'll be absolutely fine. But no, it doesn't work like that. You need knowledge to enhance your personality. And that is exactly what I did in the second interview. I read a lot. I prepared for almost all the keywords which were there in the detailed application form that you have to submit to UPSC. And even though most of the questions were asked from a very general point of view from economics in my second interview, but I was extremely confident of answering any questions which could be asked from me because I had prepared well. So I think confidence and knowledge are really the key to doing well in interview.
Yes, sir. Like we got inside of it. So, sir, like basically newspaper reading is one of the integral part of this UPSC preparation. So can you elaborate how to read the newspapers? Because it's like we spend a lot when we are entering into this space because we are novice. And some books regarding this UPSC, CSC, because most of us will be appearing for this examinations after college. So it will be like a guiding path for all of us.
Absolutely. So I think there is one very simple way of reading the newspaper. One is not to try to finish it too quickly. If you spend, that's what I was just telling all of you guys, that if you spend decent amount of time reading the newspaper, you will automatically end up reading all the important aspects from the daily newspaper. One, never miss reading a newspaper right from day one of your preparation to the day you score a rank in the exam and maybe beyond. Two, once you are reading the newspaper, I think the right amount of time that you should spend in reading the newspaper from the first day, it should be about 2 hours. And when you become really comfortable, probably 1.5 hours. But I don't think if you're spending less than 1.5 hours in reading the daily newspaper, I don't think you're reading it well. You need to spend at least that much amount of time. And because the newspaper is only a limited piece of information, whenever you are reading a particular news item, you need to extract all the important areas which need more research, and you have to do your own independent research from Google and other sources, and then substantiate that and make notes out of it. And like I already said, that you have to make notes from 2 points of view. One is from the prelims point of view, which is mostly factual, and other is mains point of view, which is mostly interpretive. I generally use the 5-point formula that whatever I have read, be it 20 pages, 50 pages, or whatever, I should be able to make notes out of it in just 5 points. And those 5 points should be able to substantiate my answer and make me capable of, writing about 3 pages in the exam, which is the maximum that UPSC demands from you. And lastly, I used to divide the entire newspaper in about 10 or 11 sections, which can be India and the world, international relations, general who's who, miscellaneous government schemes and all that. It can be anything. There is no scientific formula as such, but just to make revision much more easier as compared to if it's everything is there on the same page. So yeah, that's all.
And some books regarding it.
For a newspaper reading, I don't think any book is.
Yeah. So not regarding the newspaper, but like generally for mains, if it's there like polity, history, if you can tell.
Yeah, so that's what I said. So in my case, I hardly referred to any reference book which most coachings will tell you to read. I mostly was very organic. I just read NCRTs and probably some coaching material, whichever or wherever it was taken from. But from my general knowledge of how things work and which are good books and which are not, I think Lakshmikant is very good, although I've never read it, but I think Lakshmikant is very important. For economics, you can read D.K. Basu, if I'm not wrong. And economics, I don't think you need to read beyond anything. Economics, D.K. Basu, or history, I think Spectrum. Spectrum is very good. And I don't think apart from that, you need to read anything else.
Basically focus on NCRT, if I'm not wrong.
NCRTs, you need to be absolutely thorough. Absolutely thorough. Even if you need to refer to anything else, but the origin has to be NCRT.
Yeah. So because like when we see the interview, it's mostly that you should read Lakshmikant and every book like Spectrum, but it's not so. Like when I'm talking,
I've never read Lakshmikant. I've never even touched Lakshmikant. I don't have Lakshmikant at my. I have never read it.
So it's basically the NCRTs and the basics that needs to be clear.
Absolutely.
What
So
I can
instead of in my case, instead of Lakshmikant, I used to read the bare act, the actual constitution, and that's how I got the information, and I was able to score well in the exam. So Lakshmikant is a very, very good book. I'm not denying that, but the point is very general that reference books are only an additional source of knowledge, not the primary.
Yeah. So, sir, like failures are the parts of life. So, did you ever get demotivated when you were not able to make your first shot to this tedious examination? And what new strategies did you adapt, which made you clear this exam?
So in the first failure, the exam that I wrote just immediately after graduation, I don't think I was heartbroken because I knew that it is not the best preparation that I have done. Although I was disappointed that I should have prepared more, I should have spent more time in preparing for this exam. But in my heart, I knew that if I prepare well, I should be able to clear this exam. So I was not heartbroken as such. Okay. In the second attempt, I scored 366, and that was a good start. I was extremely happy on seeing the result. But when I saw the breakup of marks, I had scored the second highest marks in mains exam in the country, but I was very low in interview, and that really, troubled me because I don't think my personality was that bad that I had to score 125 marks. And in the third attempt, when I failed, that was a tricky time for me. I think I was extremely, extremely sad, probably on the verge of depression. And I think for 15 days, I was extremely heartbroken and I couldn't get myself out of the bed and all that. So, fortunately, I had scored. I was able to secure a service. So my training started in Shimla and all that. That's when I met another batchmate of mine. He was younger than me. We all decided that, okay, let's try for the last time, let's try to write this exam and all that. So that was, I think being in Shimla was where I was able to, get myself out of all this sad things and, try to write again this exam for one last time. And as luck would have it, I'm sitting here.
Yeah, sir. So, sir, it's like serious part is done. Now you became an IAS officer after this so many failures, if I would say. But definitely your life might have changed 360 degree after clearing this exam. So, sir, what was that feeling when you cleared this exam? And I would not say like clearing it, but you achieved All India rank 6.
So first of all, I think when you start writing this exam, when the days of the result is down the corner, a lot of people start giving you false information, aa jayega, ab aane wala hai, so those kind of information start coming to you. So that's what happened with me also. So on the day the result actually came, which was I think 5th April if I'm not wrong. So that day we had given up hope. It was, I think the result came around 7. Generally the result is out by 6 or it is out the next day. So we had given up hope. I was watching some old Hindi movie. And suddenly 2 of my batchmates came running. I was actually supposed to travel back from Shimla to Jaipur that day for my second part of my on-the-job training for the previous service. 2 of my batchmates really started and came running to me, and they were like, "You scored All India rank 6. You scored All India rank 6." I was thinking it's not possible. I don't think I can score All India rank 6 and all that. So I didn't react at all. I just took the result from them. Then I took my phone. I logged in. I tried to download the PDF. Then I actually checked once, twice, thrice, and that's when I really knew that okay, it has actually happened. And of course, I started getting a lot of calls and all that. The first person I made a call to was, of course, my parents. I spoke to my dad. I told him that Papa ho gaya, because he was really someone who wanted me to become what I in the first place, right? So it was really a feeling of satisfaction. But I think the biggest, the most important feeling, or which I had was of relief. That I do not have to go through that cycle again, which I had done for 4 years. It takes a toll on your mental health that way. So I was extremely relieved, and once all those feelings were subsided, I was really happy that finally I have achieved what I wanted to, and I was extremely happy that I was able to secure a really good rank also.
So to whom did you owe this credit for your phenomenal success, and how crucial the role of family and friends in life is?
Extremely important, Sanjana, actually, because I think I have been very fortunate to have extremely supporting family. They have always been there through thick and thin, and somehow I have been brought up in such a way that I don't give up too easily in life.
Yeah.
So I think, of course, the credit goes to my family there. My brother has always been like a father figure to me. He's just 3 years older to me. He's like a friend also. He's like a father also. So that's something which is very rare. And of course, like I said, my friends in life, my batchmate who wrote the exam with me, unfortunately, he could not qualify that year. So all those people are extremely important, because ultimately, like I said, that once you go through this journey repetitively for, in my case, for 4 long years, you need somebody to tell you that it's all right. You can go through this journey, and it is not a big deal. A lot of people go through this, and you need to, they keep you in a healthy mental space, because that's really extremely important. Because एक बार exam देने के बाद knowledge आ जाती है. Mostly it is it's a challenge of your determination, your perseverance and your courage in life. So I think that's where the roles of family and friends really come into the picture.
So sir, like after this exam you cleared and your Labasna experience, if I'm not wrong. So here the ordinary person turns into officer. So if you can tell some stories of Labasna.
Actually, I'll tell you a story before Labasna. So when I was in audit and account service in Shimla, there is something which Labasna hosts every year, which is called an inter-services meet. So when I was in training in Shimla in 2018, a call letter came from Labasna that you have been invited for participating in the inter-services meet. And because we were just 25 of us in audit and accounts,
I think so. Your voice is not clear.
Hello.
Yeah, now it's clear. Like first it was not clear, maybe due to network error.
Yeah. So now it's fine, right?
Yeah. So you were telling about like before Labasna.
So before Labasna, so I was in Shimla training in the National Academy of Audit and Accounts, and a letter came to the academy from Labasna that you are supposed to send in participants for the inter-services meet. And because we were just 25 of us, the director decided that all of us should go and experience the games and all that. So all of us went to Labasna. We were standing outside the gate. Somebody from Labasna, one of the IS officers, I think, who was earlier audit and accounts, came to receive us wearing the Labasna, tracksuit and all that. All that was fine. We entered inside. We were supposed. All of us were made to share the room with one of the IS officers, and that's when really it hit us that hit me that I do not belong here as a matter of right. So I think it got me thinking that no, I need to do something else. I need to improve because probably I can do better with whatever I am capable of. And interestingly, all of my friends, all of my batchmates started buying tracksuits of Labasna from the store nearby. But I decided no, because I will only wear a Labasna tracksuit when I really belong here, when I have earned it as a matter of right, not when I can buy it with money. So that's when I think it again got reinforced that I have to do something and I have to be here as a matter of right. So once I scored All India rank 6 and I was able to join the academy in the first day, when I entered, I got the ID and all that. And immediately we were given the tracksuits and all that. It was really a feeling of accomplishment, fulfillment, and satisfaction that after such long years of preparation and going through all this, I finally am here as not as a matter of invitation, but as a matter of right. And this is my place.
Yeah. Really inspiring to see, like, you didn't know that tracksuit. And so there is a Bharat Darshan, if I'm not wrong, in Labasna, like IAS officers are sent there. So what was that experience of Bharat Darshan?
Bharat Darshan is one of the most fantastic experiences you can have in the academy, because you're sent on a tour which is I think 47 to 49 days long. And you're sent with a group of randomly selected group, which is generally for 18 people. So you may think that IAS officers are all very sophisticated, civilized people and all that. But once you are sent on a tour with just 4 pairs of clothing on a 49 days tour, eventually everything, people start fighting, people start getting angry, people start losing patience because they've been away too long. You've been traveling almost every day. So you become tired and all that. But the good part is whenever we look at it in hindsight, we always remember it very, very fondly, because there are such interesting memories, such interesting instances which have happened with us. Even in my tour, I went with people who I thought that I'll have a good time, but I ended up having a good time with other people, and so all that interesting things, just like college, So I generally call Labasna as college in suits. That's how I define the boys, of course, in Labasna, because it's exactly like that. Everything, whatever happened in my college happened there, just that we were always wearing suits in a day in and day out, So that's how Labasna is like. And Bharat Darshan, of course.
Yeah. So, sir, that's a pretty fine experience you told. So now, sir, coming to the current scenario, finally an IAS officer. So what are the challenges you face as an officer? And what's the life of an IAS officer is?
So, Sanjana, again, so life of an IAS officer is more than power. It's more accountability, really, because, of course, your life becomes very comfortable, especially in the first few years of your field postings, when you're SDM, collector, CS, Zilla Parishad and all that. So life is very comfortable. You have all the creature comforts, which fortunately the government has provided. But on the professional front, it's a very challenging job, because you have to be aware of everything and you have to be there. Be everywhere, I might say that. So it's not a physically taxing job, but it's a very mentally taxing job, because you have to have a hold of everything and you have to do everything around you. For like everything related to a person's life, you are supposed to take care of it in one way or the other. So that is how the job is. The job is very taxing, of course. Creature comfort is there, but the best part is that you're dealing with so many things at the same time, that the amount of satisfaction that you get out of this job is almost incomparable to anything else in probably the entire world. Because I don't think there is a job like an IAS officer in the entire world, any comparable job for that matter. So the challenges are many, though. Apart from, of course, the kind of pressure that is there intellectually, or your own self-created pressure that I have to do this and that. There is a lot of political pressure. There's pressure from seniors that do this, do that, and all that. So time is an issue, because you have to do everything, but you have limited time in your hands. I also encountered one such instance when I was in Nashik, when I was doing my training there. So I had a small tiff with a local politician, of course, and that person really started, saying things to me in public in front of 40, 50 people. He started not abusing, but he almost on the verge of abusing. He said a lot of things to me. Fortunately, I was able to keep my calm. I did not say even a single word back to him. But ultimately, we ended up lodging an FIR against him, and he was put behind bars at least for a day. So interesting incidents are there. You have to encounter such things every day. But it also needs to be remembered that I have learned a lot in my life from politicians. So not all politicians are bad. In fact, most politicians are knowledgeable people. There are only 1 or 2% of politicians who are really problematic elements. Otherwise, mostly are good, decent people, respectful people, and they carry much more experience than what I or somebody else can really imagine at such a young age. So
So, sir, I would say like I got a gist. Maybe all the audience have got a gist about the life of a IAS officer and how you have to deal with the politicians. So, basically, I feel like as a youth, like most of us feel depressed when we are not able to make it or when there is a failure. So, because maybe we are exposed to social medias or something. So, sir, sometimes we take wrong steps, like go to do suicide and everything. So, what is that one advice that you would like to give to all the youth who is watching you right now?
the advice is very simple, actually. I mean, there is one quote which I always say to people. This is, I mean, life is like a boxing ring. That if you do not lose when you fall down, but you really lose when you refuse to get back up. And the idea is very, very simple. That you always have to look at the bigger picture in life. Stop looking at life or your goals in life. Let's say in beyond 1 year or 2 years. You have to look beyond. You have to look at the larger picture. What exactly will make you happy? What exactly do you want to do in life? And if you start putting that all those thoughts on a piece of paper, you will realize that there are 10 other ways of doing the same thing or achieving the same thing rather than just the one where you have failed. So if you have failed in one attempt, you should try to give another and then another and then another. It took me 4 attempts. I have known people who took 9 attempts to even crack the exam. So there are different trajectories of success for different people. So everybody should, follow his or her own path to success and, really follow it. But at the same time, if you start looking at the bigger picture in life, it will make things much easier for you. And you'll be able to, identify different ways of achieving success and much more importantly, happiness in your life. So I think that's my message to the youth, whoever is
really
listening.
inspiring message it is. So, sir, I'll take 1 or 2 questions from the chat section. So basically, one person is asking, like, on what basis can we choose that optional subject? I'm not able to find his name, but yeah, let's answer his query.
There are 2 factors on the basis of which you have to choose an optional. One is, and the foremost is your interest in the subject. So, for example, I was not interested in mathematics, but mathematics is indeed the highest scoring subject because there is no middle way. Either a question is right or wrong, right? Mm-hmm. So, but if I had chosen maths and I was not interested, I could in no way have been able to score as much as anybody, right? So the idea is very simple, that you should only go for a subject in which you are interested in, because that's when really you'll find happiness while you're reading the subject. And you'll be able to score decently well, whatever the average score of the subject is. But if you are indifferent between 2 subjects, then you should look at the past scoring pattern of that particular subject and choose the higher scoring subject between the 2 subjects in between which you are indifferent. So that's it. It's as simple as it gets.
So, and this Rupam is asking, so beyond UPSC syllabus, how much knowledge is required? Regarding this
syllabus is knowing everything, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's actually pretty much you have to know everything. So I don't know how to answer this question.
Okay, and like, what is the right way to make short notes? Mayank is asking this.
I already told. So basically, especially when you are making notes for prelims in the exam, you have to jot down all the important facts. And of course, whenever it's facts, it's short. But when you're talking about mains note making, then as I already said, whatever amount of information you may have, ultimately you have to remember that the maximum that UPSC will ask you to write in a particular question is 3 to 4 pages. And that you should be able to substantiate when you expand those 5 points, which I told you that you have to make notes. So always try to jot down or make your notes in the form of 5 points, which I used to do. And those 5 points can later on be expanded in the form of an answer which goes to about 3 to 4 pages.
Yeah. So the last question I'll take, since we are running out of time, I believe. So, but how to manage preparation with college for engineering students? Like, how can they manage?
So, like I told you, in the third year of my college, I used to do college, and then I used to go for coaching in the evening. But I mean, it is not really a decision of prioritizing one over the other. It is really balancing both the things well. Because college is also important. Ultimately, it is important at different points of life. Beyond UPSC exam, whether you clear it or not, it is important. So, don't take your college lightly, but at the same time you have to sacrifice on a little bit of your personal hobbies and all that, and that's how you're able to manage time, and you'll be able to do both. It's not really that difficult as it sounds.
And one message for the youth of the country to end this interview.
Oh, I thought I already gave a message, but yeah. So the message is, the exam life, it's all the same once you start looking at your dreams, which will not which will when you start looking at your dreams, which will help you achieve happiness in life. And I personally feel that ultimately it's not success that you should be running after, it's always happiness that should be running after. So stop comparing yourself to different people, stop putting yourself or measuring yourself at different points of time, and start looking at how happy one thing or the other makes you. And yes, respect your parents and love your family.
Yes, sir. So just I'll end with one line. People who dare to dream are the ones who achieve it. So that's what I can get from your life, sir. So now I'll hand this interview to Anushka for the vote of thanks. Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasant experience to talk to you.
Thank you, Sachin. If just learning about your story gave us goosebumps, then, sir, actually hearing your side and advice was absolutely phenomenal. On behalf of VIT Leo Club, I'd like to offer my immense gratitude for taking time out of your hectic schedule to come inspire all of us present here with the tales of your victory. We wish you even greater success in the future as we look forward to move ahead in life with the same determination and vigor that you have shown us today here. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Anushka, for your kind words. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us today.
I hope most of your questions were answered, and if it wasn't, then we keep bringing IS officers, so it will be. So yeah, so thank you, and follow Leo on the official Instagram ID. I will be putting up Instagram ID on the chat box. And thank you. Have a lovely evening, everybody. You guys can leave now.
Excuse me. What do we have to do to get the attendance?
Nothing. You have joined. We will give it to you. Don't worry about the attendance.
Okay, thank you.